My name is Bailey Parker, and I am the Communications Director for the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. I have to give this disclaimer every single time we give a presentation. This is not meant to serve as a substitute for reading various laws and seeking legal counsel. I'm not an attorney. You don't want legal advice from me. That would be really, really bad. So this presentation is just meant to serve as an introduction and overview of the topic. So what is identity theft? Identity theft is when somebody uses your personal or financial information without your permission. How can they use that information? Honestly, in a lot of different ways, probably more than we would think about. So the most obvious way, and I think the top way that people think of identity theft, is they can buy things with your credit cards, debit cards, financial information, or even open up new lines of credit in your name. So they'll go and use your information to open up a new credit card, maybe even try and get a car loan, things like that. I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think of identity theft. But little less known ways, they can actually open up utility accounts in your name. So they're going to go to their apartment and they're going to switch their utility account to your name, and then you're going to be left with the bill. And then they can actually steal your tax refund. Tax identity theft was the #1 way of identity theft in South Carolina last year, at least that was reported to us. So that means when these individuals went to go file their tax return, they were told a return's already been filed. That means that somebody had already filed their return for them. Seems really nice in theory, like, oh, somebody did my taxes for me. But usually a lot of the information they're putting in there is inaccurate, and then they steal your refund. They can actually use your health insurance to get medical care, and they can apply for insurance benefits with your information too. And then they can pretend to be you if they're arrested. This happens a lot with crime and warrant scams and identity theft. They'll get arrested, give over your name, they'll have a fake driver's license with your information on it, and then your name is going to be the one on the warrant. What I want people to think about is identity thieves and scammers are coming in all shapes and sizes now. Keep an open mind about it, no matter the method of contact. The ultimate goal of a scam or identity theft is to get your money or your personal information. If a scammer can't get your money, then they're going to get your personal information, which they can either use themselves to get money or they can sell somewhere. So that is the ultimate goal of a scammer or an identity thief. Now, I want to make the distinction. Not everybody who's a victim of a scam is a victim of identity theft. So don't think, oh, I got scammed, that means that I'm an identity theft victim. Not always the case, but you want to check. You want to make sure, and I'll show you how you can do that. But they're coming in all shapes and sizes now. They contact you in any way they can. So over the phone, direct mail or text message, direct message online, email, fake websites, in person, whatever way they can contact you, they will. So don't lull yourself into the thought of, oh, well, they're coming to me in person. It must not be a scam because a scammer wouldn't do that in person, right? Oh, no, they will. They'll act like a home repair scam, a home repairman who's actually a scammer who's going to, case out your house so they can come and rob you later. Or they're going to tell you that your house needs to be fixed for something. And then they're going to take your money, come and do maybe one nail of work and then leave. So just know scammers come in all shapes and sizes. How does it usually happen? The majority of the time it's you. That's where identity theft starts. So you tell them over the phone your information, whether it's financial or personal. And we don't do this on purpose, right? We think that the person on the other end is legitimate. But at the end of the day, if somebody's calling you and asking you, oh, here's a scenario that we hear often. You get a phone call and they claim to be your bank and they say your account has been compromised. We need to verify your identity so we can make sure we can get whoever is on your account out of there and we'll rectify the issue. That sounds really scary. So you give over this person your bank account information and maybe even your social security number to verify your identity. Well, turns out it wasn't your bank. and you just gave over this very sensitive information to an identity thief. So just know the majority of identity theft starts with you. Security breaches. We are on track to having the biggest security breach year yet, at least reported to us in South Carolina. We are the agency in South Carolina that takes security breach notices from companies. So if a company has had a breach where it's affected South Carolinians specifically, they have to report it to us. There are specific reporting guidelines, so you can actually look at that on our website if you're interested. But we are on track to have our biggest number of security breaches ever. And security breaches can be as innocuous or as simple as, oh, your email address got leaked. But they can be as serious as a healthcare organization is hacked and your insurance information and your social security number and your date of birth and all of that private information is then leaked. So security breaches can be pretty serious. Lost or stolen wallets. This happened to me. Had my identity stolen because, unfortunately, I was starting a new job and they asked me to bring a physical copy, my actual social security card. The job was 4 hours away, so I put it in my wallet, drove 4 hours away. They copied the actual social security card. I drove back home and then forgot to take it out of my wallet. We moved a couple of days later and somebody stole my wallet out of my grocery cart and they had all my information. Don't do what I did. Never carry that stuff around. I had a bit of an excuse to do it, but I forgot. It was not very smart of me to forget that I had my social security card in my wallet for that purpose. Theft by family or friends. So we bold this because a lot of identity theft, specifically child identity theft, occurs by family or friends. So they're taking advantage of the fact that you love, know them, trust them, could never think that they would do anything like this. So don't lull yourself into a false sense of security that this could never happen. Dumpster diving, pre-approval offers for those credit cards, maybe even insurance. So people still do this and they get a lot of information off of it. And then just generally stolen mail. If you're still paying for bills by mail, think about this before you send out the next check. A lot of scammers and just criminals in general will sort through those mailboxes looking for that information that they can use. And that is a perfect way to have your identity stolen. Number one rule is do not give over any of your personal or financial information to somebody whose identity you cannot verify. The main thing I tell consumers is if they're reaching out to you first, if you get the cold contact, so they're reaching out to you out of the blue, you did not initiate that point of contact, that's usually a huge red flag that it's a scammer. So sometimes businesses will reach out, like your bank, but it's very rare. If you do have a situation like I described earlier where your bank calls and says that you've had some irregular activity on your account, I would hang up and call back the number you know and ask them if that was a legitimate phone call. That's the safest way to do it. But no one should just be calling you out of the blue, asking for your private information. Okay, here we go. This is what we're all here for, right? We know what identity theft is. Now, how and what ways can we do to protect our identities? Here are the free ways, the free ways to do so. Federal changes to law. There's a common misconception, and I think it's because this law did not become effective until 2018, that security freezes cost money. So we'll talk in depth about security freezes. They are free now. I know we posted something about security freezes and fraud alerts a couple of weeks ago on Nextdoor, that app for neighborhoods. And a lot of people were like, it's not free. It's not free. Yes, it is as of 2018 because of the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act. So this is free security freezes across the board federally that enacted the Protected Consumer Freeze. So I'll talk a little bit about that. That's for minors and incapacitated adults. Adjust the fraud alert and active duty military provisions, and then enacted active duty free monitoring. So the fraud alert, what is it? It lasts 1 year after you place it. This makes businesses If they're looking at your report, take extra steps to identify you, to verify that you are who you say you are. It entitles you to another free credit report from each of the credit reporting agencies. If you see CRAs, that's credit reporting agencies, and all you have to do is one call, that's all. You just have to call Experian. They'll talk to Equifax and TransUnion or any of the other ones. They'll talk to each other. A fraud alert is a simple way to just put a kind of fast security on your credit report. It's not fail-safe though. So somebody, if they have all of your information, they have your social security number, they have a fake driver's license, they have all that information, they could verify themselves as you. So it's not foolproof, but it is a start in a good way. Next thing is the freeze. So I mentioned it used to cost money in some states. Federally across the board, it is free now. So it's free to place or lift. It stops anyone, including yourself, from accessing your credit report to open up new lines of credit in your name. That doesn't mean you can't go look at your credit report once a year just to do your due diligence. It just means that you can't open up new lines of credit in your name. You can do a thaw when you want to apply for new credit. So what that means is, say you want to go buy a new car and you know you're going to be shopping around for credit between March 1st and April 15th. You can call the credit reporting agencies and say, I want to thaw my account on March 1st, and then I want it to refreeze on April 15th. They will set those parameters. The thaw will happen, and then it will refreeze when you ask them to. You do have to call each of the three major credit reporting agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. I have all their contact information a little bit later on in this, so don't worry, we'll get there. But you do have to call each of them, and they will give you PINs. Now, in general about the freeze, you'll see that little information on the bottom right of the screen. In the Fair Credit Reporting Act from 2018, it changed some things in the freeze. So in general, it's available to anyone. You have to submit the request to each credit reporting agency, and you can do that by certified letter or email or telephone. Telephone was added in 2018 because of FCRA. The credit reporting agency must place a freeze. It used to be 5 days, but in 2018, it became 1 business day if you called them or sent by email, and then 3 business days if it was by mail. Within 5 days, the credit reporting agency must send written confirmation to you of the request and provide you with a PIN or a password. So what this is a way for you to remove the freeze or to verify yourself, so to authenticate you to that freeze. While the freeze is in place, the credit reporting agency must notify of a person requesting a report that it's frozen. So if somebody does go in, including yourself, say you forget you have a freeze and you want to go buy a new house and you want to go get a mortgage, you're going to get a notification that, oh, hey, by the way, this credit report is frozen, okay? If you just want to thaw the freeze, so temporarily remove the freeze, you can do that by email, telephone, or mail, and it can be for a specified time, as I gave the example earlier. And the credit reporting agency must thaw within 1 hour if it's by phone or email, and then 3 business days if it's by mail. If you want to completely lift it, you're just thinking, I'm done with this. I wouldn't recommend that. But if you're just like, I'm tired of this freeze, you can request by email, telephone, or by actual paper mail. If they get it within 1 hour of telephone and email request, it has to be lifted. And then within 3 business days if it's by mail. So know the different reporting times there and action times. And you're going to get a little bit of a faster response. Not a little bit. I mean, 1 hour to 3 business days is considerable if you're doing it by telephone or email. Now, remember, you are going to have to give them your PIN or your password. and each of the credit reporting agencies will give you a different one, which means you're going to have 3 separate PINs that you're going to have to use for an individual one. So Equifax will have one, Experian will have another, and TransUnion will have another. They're not interchangeable. So just remember that when you're placing it. It can get a little confusing, but I think it's worth the trouble, because that way no one's going into your credit report opening up new lines of credit. That's the really bad identity theft. Once something goes on your credit report, it can be so hard to take it off. So I think it's worth the hassle here. This is one of the best ways, including some paid ways, you can keep your credit report safe. Everything on your credit report is highly sensitive. And if somebody's opening up new lines of credit in your name, boy, it is going to be hard to get off there, especially if you don't realize for 6 months, a year and a half, and all of a sudden collections start popping up or other things start happening. So please consider setting these things to your credit reports. I do want to mention the Fair Credit Reporting Act and how it brought in military considerations here. So for people who are active duty, the active duty alert was put in. That means you're an active military consumer. So it's kind of the same as the regular fraud alert here. It's 1 year and you can renew it. It makes the business take extra steps to verify your identity or the person who's requesting credit's identity. But it also includes you in a 2-year removal from pre-screened offers. Now, this is the removal from pre-screened offers is not just for military, but in the active duty alert, it is. I will tell you if you're not active duty, how you can do the pre-screened offer removal. Also, when it comes to free credit monitoring, active duty military were given this back in 2019. And basically what this does is for military members who are going overseas and they may not be looking at their accounts often, they're not using their credit, what this is going to do is going to notify them of material changes or additions to their credit file. So if somebody goes and tries to put a new name on there or puts a new utility account, puts a new credit card, they're going to get notified of that. And they have to do it by one of a couple of ways. You have to be notified by mobile app, by email or text of specific changes to the credit file. So changes of address, payments that are more than 30 days late, bankruptcy information, foreclosures, liens, new accounts opened in your name. So if you are active duty and you did not know, or you know somebody who's active duty and they don't know about these options, please take advantage of them. Military members are often victims of identity theft because they're overseas and they're not looking at their credit report often. So they're easy targets for criminals. Take advantage of these free options. I wanted to put this table up there for you just to kind of compare. So there is an extended alert of the fraud alert. So you've got the fraud alert, you've got to contact one of the credit reporting agencies, then they'll talk to each other. It's for 1 year. It gives you an additional free credit report every single year to look at, and you don't get any extras there. The extended alert lasts for 7 years. You do have to be a victim of identity theft. So you have to have an identity theft affidavit. If you don't know what that is and you think you've been a victim of identity theft, give our identity theft unit a call and we can help walk you through that process. But you will have to have that form saying, I am an identity theft victim. You do have to call each of the credit reporting agencies, lasts the 7 years, gets you 2 additional credit reports from each of the credit reporting agencies within 12 months of placing the alert. And then there's an extra of a 5-year removal from pre-screened marketing lists. Security freeze, you have to call each of the credit reporting agencies. Duration is until you want it to be, so either you lift it or thaw it. You don't get any additional credit reports, and there are no extras with that one. I mentioned the protected consumer freeze. So identity theft for children and incapacitated adults is an unfortunate reality. I went and spoke to a high school group, and a girl came up to me afterwards who said that when she went to go get her first cell phone, she turned 16, wanted to go buy her own cell phone, so she went to T-Mobile. And when you're opening up accounts like cell phones, they check your credit report, and she was denied. And they said, you have too much debt on your credit report. And she said, I don't have any debt. They showed it to her, and it turns out somebody, a family member, had actually opened up $65,000 worth of loans in her name. So that was a very serious thing for her. It probably followed her around for a very long time. So how can you protect the people in your life who are most vulnerable? So if you're a parent, guardian, or representative of a minor, so under the age of 16, or an incapacitated adult, you can create and freeze a protected consumer's credit file for free. This came from that law we spoke about earlier. So people who are under the age of 16 should not have a credit report. And incapacitated adults probably haven't had a credit report for whatever reason. So it will create the credit report and then freeze it for you. You must contact each of the credit reporting agencies to place this type of freeze. And then here's the information of once you contact them, within 5 days, they have to send you written confirmation and then process to remove or authenticate the consumer. So if you have a PIN, give all the information to authenticate who you are, and then give you permission to do so. I always tell grandparents and parents, this is worth it. It's so easy nowadays for people to just take children's identities and sell them to people. So there are fake and scammer credit counselors out there that will say, we'll give you an entire new credit identity. Well, the likelihood is they've stolen that credit file they're now giving to you from a child, and they're making money off of it. Please, if you have somebody in your life who's under the age of 16 or is incapacitated, think about this. If you're just thinking to yourself, well, I wonder if my child does have a credit report, you can check to see. You can contact each of the credit reporting agencies and ask for a manual search of a child's credit report. They're going to check for files related to that child's name and social security number. And then obviously, they're going to ask you a lot of personal information. They're going to make sure that you're connected to this person. They're going to ask for birth dates, maybe even birth certificates, things like that. So don't be suspicious when the credit reporting agency is saying, why are you asking for all of this information? So yes, you are going to have to give over your information to verify your identity. Keep that in mind. The process may be a little bit different based on what credit reporting agency you're going to, because each of them have their own credit file. So just keep that in mind. Okay, we've talked a lot about credit reports, right? Well, how do you get free ones? The place we are going to tell you to go to is authorized by federal law to give you free credit reports every single year. And when I say authorized by federal law, what I mean is they are not going to sell your information to third-party buyers. There are a lot of large companies out there that do this type of work and claim that they can give you free credit reports. And it's technically true. They'll give you free credit reports, but they're a business. They need to make money somehow, right? And they're doing that by, if you were to actually read the terms and conditions, you're agreeing to let them sell your information to third-party buyers. The biggest buyers of third-party information are Amazon, Google, and Facebook. They're using that third-party information to target ads at you, to learn more about you, all that wonderful stuff. So just know that those large companies out there that you may be getting your credit reports from, that's how they're making money. And then obviously the advertisements they're running on their sites and things. So annualcreditreport.com is authorized by federal law, no strings attached, to give you your credit reports once a year. You can actually get one every single week until December 31st of this year. They started this at the beginning of the pandemic, where you could get one every single week. So they've been doing this for almost 2 years now. And by the end, it'll have been 2.5 years. I don't think you need to look at your credit reports every single week, but you could if you wanted to. The recommended is at least once a year. You want to go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that everything is you. Make sure everything is spelled correctly, all the accounts are yours, everything is up to date with the payments that you've made, so you know that you are safe. Everything on there is yours. And if you find something that's a little off, always give us a call. Annualcreditreport.com, yes, you are going to have to give over your social security number. In order to get your credit reports, you're going to have to give that over. I think some people get a little scared because they go to the website and they're like, oh, they're asking me for my personal information. Yeah, you do have to give it over in order to get those credit reports. So keep that in mind. You can also call them on the phone too. The ones on annualcreditreport.com do not have a credit score. You may be offered by the direct creditor. So Experian may offer you a free credit score along with your credit report. But no, if you've already pulled your credit reports, they're going to charge you up to $12.50 each time. So just keep that in mind. I want to give you the information. So these are the direct contact information for Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, including their websites. Again, the slides for this presentation and an additional handout are available for download. If you can't download them, just email me and I can send them to you. So, proactive measures. Just to let you know, there are a few times where you can get additional credit reports for free. So, if you've been denied employment, you can get an additional credit report. If you've been denied credit, they're actually required by law to give you an additional free credit report to tell you why you were denied that credit. If you're unemployed and you're about to look for a job, you can get a free credit report. And also, I want to put this out here as a reminder. So Equifax had a massive breach. When was it? 2017? I can't remember the specific year, but they settled with the federal government, and starting in 2020, everyone who was a part of that settlement or who had their information breached in the Equifax data breach was entitled to 6 free credit reports per year through 2026, so 4 more years from now, by visiting the Equifax website or by calling them. That's in addition to all of the other credit reports, including the other credit reporting agencies that you can get at annualcreditreport.com. So if you were a victim of that breach, you can take advantage of this. Just as a reminder, I know it's been a while. I had kind of forgotten about it. And I was a victim of this breach. And I thought to myself, oh, I completely forgot I got additional credit reports. So just keep this in mind. I spoke earlier about opting out of pre-screened offers. So one of the ways that I spoke about identity theft happening is those pre-screened offers coming into your mailbox, you throwing them away, somebody's dumpster diving, or they just steal them straight out of your mailbox. So you're going to get these offers for credit cards or insurance, and they're using information based off of your credit file. So they're giving you a pre-offer. So they say, we've seen your credit file. You've got a pretty good credit report. Let's see if they want to open up a new credit card with us or they want to get a new insurance rate or whatever they're trying to sell you. So those offers have a lot of information in them. And then also, if somebody gets that pre-screened offer for a credit card, they could open up that credit card themselves. So please go to optoutprescreen.com, or you can call 1-888-5-OPT-OUT, and you can actually opt out completely of pre-screened offers. Actually, it may not be completely. I think it might be like for a couple of years at a time. So it may not be until the end of time, but this is a really great option if you're not shopping around for credit. Excuse me. If you're not shopping around for credit and you don't think you're going to be changing your insurance anytime soon, this might just save you headache of trying to safely dispose of mail that's coming in. And then my Social Security accounts. So if you don't know what this is an online account where you can actually go in and track your Social Security payments if you're still working, or if you're taking out Social Security, you can see what's coming out and you can make plans. It's the official government website to manage all of those benefits. even if you're not taking out those checks. It's important to set up your own account before someone else does it for you. So we've heard reports in the past of identity thieves actually signing up and using those benefits for themselves. So they sign up for the My Social Security account and then start taking out Social Security or disability or whatever they want. So ssa.gov/my account/. If you just go to ssa.gov, there's an option down, I think, in the left-hand side to create an account. So do this if you haven't already. Now, this is a hot topic, the National Do Not Call Registry. We have an entire webinar just on this, but I wanted to cover the basics here. A lot of people, in fact, I would say the majority of people always say to me, the Do Not Call Registry doesn't do anything. I signed up for it. I'm still getting tons and tons of phone calls. Well, there's probably a reason for that. If you don't know what the Do Not Call Registry is, it's housed within the Federal Trade Commission. It's created in 2013 to stop unwanted sales calls, underlined and bolded, specific sales calls there. It's free to register for any phone number in the US. And after you sign up, you still may receive official sales calls for up to 31 days after. So the rules are for telemarketers in general too. They can't call you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m., be deceptive or abusive or lie about their terms and their offer, or ask you to pay with a cash-to-cash money transfer, anything to do with gift cards or reloadable debit cards, and then ask for your bank account information. So what the registry doesn't do, because what I'm saying here is I think it's still useful to sign up for the registry. And people can fight me on this, and that's fine, but I still think it is useful. The registry does not apply to every unwanted call. It does not stop calls from political organizations, charities, debt collectors, informational calls, people taking surveys, and scammers. So if you are on the Do Not Call registry and you're still getting tons and tons of phone calls, I think this is a perfect way you can say, you know what, I don't recognize that number. It's most likely a scammer. Yes, there are some telemarketers out there that don't follow the rules. And if they don't, report them to the FTC. So if you're still getting calls from AT&T about a new service or a new promotion, you can report them to the FTC. But if you continue to get dozens of phone calls, it's a good sign that you're getting calls from scammers and not actual telemarketers. So I do still think that it's worth it to sign up for the Do Not Call registry. You just go to donotcall.gov, and you can do that over the phone too. They've got the phone number on the website. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings about the Do Not Call list. I still think it has merit, and the FTC, yes, still does use the Do Not Call list, and in fact has proposed some recent changes and fines for breaking the rules of the Do Not Call list. So they still are monitoring that and using that. I think it's still of use, and it's free. I mean, it's not like it's costing you anything. So there's that. Free monitoring tools. Set up account alerts on your bank accounts. So if set a threshold, and usually these are free, make sure they're free, and say if somebody spends over $150, I want an alert, either a text or a call or an email, just to let me know. And it may be you that's making the purchase, but if somebody does make a purchase over that limit, it's going to let you know. And then login protections. So creating strong passwords. These are the general tips I want to give here. These aren't necessarily tools, free tools you can sign up for. This is up to you completely. You need to create strong passwords, at least 12 characters. Also using uppercase, lowercase letters and symbols. And please do not use anything related to your life. It's said that women are usually the easiest people to hack because they make their passwords related to their family or their life, and all of that information can be found on social media usually. So do not make any of your passwords related to your life. I know that's what makes them easy to remember. If you have a hard time remembering your password, download a password manager. There's a lot of good ones on Android and Apple. You can also just use an Excel spreadsheet that's password protected if you want to do that. So don't just make everything the same password, and don't make them related to your personal life. Security questions. When it comes to banking and financial information, or even really a lot of accounts now ask for security questions to verify your identity. Don't make them information that you could easily find online or in public record. So avoid questions like your zip code, where you were born, your mother's maiden name, your birthplace, your first home address, things like that. Try and choose the ones that are a little bit more hard to find when it comes to a quick Google search. Two-factor or multi-factor authentication is the #1 cybersecurity tool that general consumers can use right now. If you are not using two-factor authentication for every account that you can, please start. This makes it's extra security by requiring something in addition to a password to log in. So that something extra falls into two different areas. So you get a passcode via an authentication app or a security key, or scan something like a fingerprint, your retina, or your face. So an example is whenever I log into Facebook, I get a text message with a code that says, and then I type in that code into Facebook, and then it lets me in finally. That's an example of two-factor authentication. Use it. Because if somebody were to try and log into my Facebook that was not me, I would get a message with a code, and I'd be like, well, I didn't try and log in. Who's trying to log into my account? That person's not going to be able to get in because they don't have that code. Almost every financial institution offers this now. If your financial institution does not, ask them why, and maybe think of using a different financial institution, because this really is the top cybersecurity tool right now in general. So use this if you can. And just in general, beware of scams. I mentioned earlier, not all victims of scams are victims of identity theft, but they can be. So the bottom line here is, if you're answering some sort of cold contact, so they reach out to you out of the blue, never give over information to the person. And when in doubt, hang up and call the number you know. That's the best. If you think you've been a victim, please call us. We can help walk you through the process, or even get you to the place where you need to find out if you have been a victim. We have toolkits with all of the steps that you need to take, all the forms you need to fill out. So don't do it alone. Give us a call.